A proposal from the North Tide Kingdom arrived. The prince demanded marriage to the princess to secure his claim to the throne. Refusing meant war. Accepting meant binding the kingdom to a violent kingdom. The marriage was not a choice. It was a law. The queen read the proposal aloud, and the court understood the weight of it. The marriage would only last 1 year, enough to make the prince heir, but it was a year the princess could not escape.
A proposal from the North Tide Kingdom. Marriage to prince.
A marriage to him? He's ruthless.
We have no choice. It's for the kingdom's survival.
The princess stared out at the ocean, her thoughts tangled with fear and confusion. The marriage wasn't about her. It was about securing the prince's claim to the throne. The queen entered, her presence commanding, and explained the marriage's purpose, a 1-year contract, enough to make the prince heir. After that, the princess would return to her life. But could she live with the cost of it?
Must I marry him? For a year? Is it truly necessary?
It's the only way for him to be named heir. After a year, the marriage ends, and you are free.
What if I refuse?
Refuse, and war follows. There is no other choice.
The queen's decision was final. The princess's heart was heavy, but the kingdom's survival was at stake. The marriage would take place, not for love, but for power. A year was all the prince needed to claim his title. The princess had no choice but to obey.
Marry him. It is the only way to ensure peace.
And after a year?
Then you are free.
The princess had no choice but to accept the engagement. The marriage to the North Tide prince wasn't a decision she could make. It was a political necessity. The queen, firm and unwavering, made it clear that the kingdom's survival depended on this union. The marriage would ensure peace, but it would also bind her to a man she didn't know.
Do I really have to marry him?
This isn't a choice. The kingdom needs this alliance. It's the only way forward.
The prince stood in his father's chambers, listening to the king's demand. There was no room for negotiation. To secure his inheritance, he had to marry the princess. The law of his kingdom made it clear. Without a wife, he couldn't claim the throne. His father's eyes were hard as stone. The prince had no choice. The marriage was a requirement, not a union of hearts.
This is the only way. Marry her, and you will be heir to the throne.
What if I don't want to marry her?
You don't have a choice. The future of our kingdom depends on it.
The princess listened to the queen's words, knowing there was nothing left to say. Her duty was clear, and it had nothing to do with love. The marriage would happen, and the kingdom would be secure. Her life was no longer her own. She could protest, but it wouldn't change the outcome. The future of the realm rested on this decision, and she had no say in it.
So it's decided?
Yes, you will marry him. It's for the kingdom.
The ceremony was quick and silent. No music, no cheers. The princess and prince exchanged vows, the weight of duty pressing down on them both. For the prince, it was a necessary step to claim his inheritance. For the princess, it was a sacrifice, a political move to keep the kingdom safe, a 1-year contract. After that, she would return to her life, and he would take the throne.
Is this really the only way?
It's the only way to claim the throne.
What if I can't do this? What if I can't live with this?
You don't have a choice. Neither do I.
Alone in her room, the princess sat by the window, her thoughts spinning. The wedding had happened, but it was not real. Just a contract. A year. After that, she would return to her life. The weight of the ring on her finger felt heavier with each passing moment.
A year. Just 1 year, and then I'm free. Is that all I am now? A pawn in a political game?
Days turned into weeks. The princess and prince continued their routine. Him training, her attending royal meetings. The distance between them grew with each passing day, the silence thick in the air. The court noticed, and whispers followed them wherever they went. Everyone knew the marriage had not produced the desired union. It was a contract, nothing more.
The prince hasn't spoken to you in days, Your Highness.
I know.
Do you think he'll ever change?
He doesn't need to change. He has his duty, so do I.
But a marriage isn't just about duty, is it?
It's not, but we don't have a choice.
No, Your Highness, but sometimes even duty can change.
The court buzzed with gossip. Whispers filled the halls about the cold marriage that had been arranged. A marriage of convenience, they called it. A failure, they said. The princess overheard them as she moved through the corridors, her steps echoing in the silence. She didn't respond, but the weight of their judgment sat heavily on her shoulders. She was trapped in a marriage that was not her choice, in a palace full of people who saw her as a pawn.
Did you hear? The princess and prince hardly speak. The marriage is a joke.
How long do you think this will last?
Not much longer, I'd wager.
They can think what they like. It's not for them to understand.
The palace corridors were quiet. The princess lingered in the silence, her mind heavy with unspoken words. She had never imagined her life would come to this. Living in the same palace, bound by a contract, yet emotionally distant. The prince stood beside her. Neither spoke for a long while, but the tension between them was palpable.
Do you ever wonder what could have been if things were different?
What's the point of wondering? It won't change anything.
I never wanted this. Not like this.
And neither did I, but here we are.
I just wanted more than this cold silence.
I can't give you more, not now.
The political dinner was filled with sharp words and louder laughter. The princess, seated at the royal table, tried to blend into the background as nobles pressed her with questions about her marriage. The tension was rising, and the princess felt the walls closing in. Just as the nobles closed in, the prince stepped forward. His voice cut through the room, cold and commanding. He silenced them with a few sharp words, and the nobles hesitated. The princess felt a weight lift from her shoulders, but she knew the cost of their growing connection was more than just words.
How does it feel to marry a man you barely know?
It's none of your concern.
Enough. The princess is not to be questioned.
But we were only...
I said enough.
Once the dinner ended, they found themselves alone in a quiet hallway, separated from the noise of the court. The silence between them felt heavier than ever. It wasn't just the marriage. They both knew there was something unspoken between them. The princess looked at him, her heart in her throat. She wanted to say something, anything, but the words caught in her chest. The prince, standing in front of her, spoke first.
You should be grateful. I protected you.
Protected me? Or did you just silence them for your own reasons?
I did it because I don't want to see you hurt.
I didn't ask for your protection.
And I didn't ask for this marriage, but here we are.
The words hung between them, fragile and unresolved. The princess's heart raced, and she could see the uncertainty in the prince's eyes. They were both trapped in a marriage they never wanted, yet the space between them was shifting. Neither could deny the pull that had grown between them, but the unspoken words remained.
You don't want this marriage, neither do I. But what happens after?
I don't know. But I'm starting to think we're not so different.
Maybe not.
But I still don't know how we're supposed to move forward.
The days were filled with royal meetings, long discussions, and the burden of expectations. The princess knew her duty, yet with each passing day, her heart grew heavier. She was married to a man she barely knew, bound by a contract, yet every time she looked at him, something inside her stirred. She couldn't ignore the feelings that had begun to form between them, but
the kingdom will thrive, despite the challenges.
Of course, Your Highness. But we can all feel the tension in the air.
I feel it too, but I don't know how to change it.
The prince spent his days training, his mind focused on the task at hand, but every time he saw the princess, a knot tightened in his chest. The marriage was a necessity, but it didn't stop him from wondering if there was more to it. He had tried to suppress the emotions building inside him, but they wouldn't fade. He was trapped in his duty, yet the connection with the princess lingered, unspoken.
I need to focus on my training, not on distractions.
If you say so, my lord.
It's harder than I thought.
One evening, as the royal palace lay silent, the princess and prince crossed paths in the corridor. For a moment, neither spoke. The weight of the silence was broken only by their shared understanding. They were both trapped by the roles they had been forced to play, but in that brief moment, the walls between them seemed to crumble. The vulnerability was clear, but neither knew how to bridge the gap.
Do you ever think about what could have been if things were different?
Every day. But thinking doesn't change anything.
But it feels like the silence is the only thing we share.
Maybe it's all we can share for now.
The storm raged outside, its howling winds shaking the palace walls. The princess and prince were forced to stay indoors as the storm trapped them in the palace together. The tension was palpable. They had avoided each other for weeks, but now there was nowhere to run. The silence between them had become unbearable. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside them both.
It's hard to believe the storm outside isn't inside too.
We've both been trying to keep it all locked away.
Maybe it's time to stop pretending.
Pretending won't fix this.
As the storm passed, the palace fell into a heavy silence. The princess and prince found themselves alone in the dimly lit room, the distance between them smaller than it had ever been. The tension in the air was thick, and the unsaid words hung between them like a thread waiting to snap. Their eyes met, and for the first time, they didn't look away. The pull between them was undeniable, but neither of them moved.
What do we do now?
I don't know, but I can't keep pretending this means nothing.
Then what are we supposed to do?
I don't know, but I feel it too.
Without warning, the princess stepped closer. The prince hesitated for a moment, then pulled her toward him. The kiss was brief, but it was everything they had both been holding back. In that moment, everything else ceased to exist. The marriage, the duty, the silence, it all faded away. But as quickly as it happened, they pulled apart, the weight of what they had just done settling in.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but we can't keep pretending.
The palace returned to its usual rhythm, but something had changed. The kiss had happened, and neither the princess nor the prince knew what to do with it. They didn't speak of it. They barely looked at each other. But every room they entered, every corner they crossed, the memory followed. It wasn't hatred anymore. It was something far more dangerous. Uncertainty.
Will you be joining the prince for the council meeting today?
No, I have other matters.
As you wish, Your Highness.
I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
They met in the corridor by chance, neither expecting the other. For a moment they both froze. The air thickened. The hallway, once so wide, felt impossibly narrow. Neither spoke. Their eyes met. And that was enough. Everything was still there. The kiss, the silence, the unspoken questions.
Are we going to talk about it?
I want to, I just don't know how.
Then maybe we should figure it out together.
Maybe we should.
The queen had ruled long enough to see changes before they were spoken. Her daughter carried herself differently now. Shoulders less tense, glances softer. The queen summoned her in private, her voice calm but heavy with warning. A marriage built on politics was shifting into something unpredictable.
He is not yours to love. He is a means to an end.
Then why does it feel like he's becoming more than that?
Because feelings are a dangerous illusion. Don't forget why you married him.
The invitation came without fanfare. Just a folded note and 5 words. Dinner. No titles. No duty. She came unsure of what to expect, but when he met her with a quiet smile and a single seat prepared beside him, she realized this wasn't about obligation. It was something else.
For once, let's not be prince and princess.
Then who are we?
Just 2 people trying to breathe underwater.
The whispers returned, but they were different this time. Gone were the doubts about a cold marriage. Now the court murmured about stolen glances, lingering conversations, shared smiles. The shift was too quiet to name, but too strong to ignore.
Have you noticed how he looks at her now?
I've noticed how she doesn't look away anymore.
They found themselves alone in the corridor once more, but this time there was no cold silence, only the warmth of something new, something unplanned. They didn't need a throne to tell them this mattered.
I don't know where this is going.
Neither do I. But for once, I want to stop walking alone.
Word reached the queen, and with it, her fury. She summoned them both and reminded them that their one-year union was not a love story. It was a political agreement. She demanded distance. The marriage must remain a symbol, not a risk.
You will keep your emotions in check. That is not a request.
Even if it's too late for that?
The queen's decree created a wall between them, and it hurt. The prince grew cold. The princess withdrew. But that night, the silence broke into something louder, an argument, not over hate, but the ache of restraint.
Why are you shutting me out?
Because if I don't, I'll want more, and I can't have more.
Then stop acting like we never mattered.
Days passed without words. The queen's command echoed in every hall. The prince no longer sought her out. The princess no longer stayed behind after meetings. Their bond, once fragile but warm, was now brittle and cold. The silence was no longer peaceful. It was punishment.
Will you dine with the prince tonight?
No, that part of this marriage is over.
A small coral chest sat open in her chamber. She packed in silence. No servants helped her. She didn't ask. The marriage had days left. She didn't want a grand goodbye, just a quiet end to a quiet love.
It's almost over, just as it was meant to be.
Will you miss him?
I already do.
The reef court celebrated the new heir. The prince stood tall, his silver crown shining under the glowing coral light. But beside him, the space was empty. The princess had not come, not out of protest, just out of heartbreak. Her part in this kingdom had ended.
She couldn't say goodbye in person. The words wouldn't come. So she left him a letter, neatly folded, left on her sea silk pillow. It read,
This marriage was never real, but what grew between us was. I'll carry it with me, quietly, forever. Yours for 1 year and always a little after.
He read it alone, and for the first time in his royal life, he didn't know what to do next. The final ceremony began. It was simple. No celebration, no song. Just a quiet farewell in the royal dome. The princess stood at the gates, ready to leave the reef forever. The queen watched with pride. The prince stayed silent. It was the ending everyone expected.
You did your duty. Now let go.
The contract has ended. The princess is free to depart.
She turned, swam one stroke, then another. The gates of the reef opened ahead, and then... Wait! His voice echoed through the reef. Not royal, not cold, just his. She turned. Everyone froze, even the queen. The prince swam toward her, not as a ruler, but as a man with nothing left to lose.
The contract's over, but I'm not.
Why now?
Because I was a prince when I let you go. But I want to be more than that if I ask you to stay.
She stared at him. The court held its breath. Then she swam toward him.
Then don't ask. Just tell me to stay.
Stay.
And this time she did.
Thanks for watching, Diary Gang. That wasn't just a story, that was a memory. Tap subscribe to join the Diary Gang and keep riding with stories that hit different. Cheers!